Today, we are looking into one of the greatest unsolved mystery as referred by FBI. This is the most famous D.B. Cooper case. On November 24th, 1971, this was day before the Thanksgiving, a man named by Dan Cooper bought a $20 ticket, one-way ticket, on Northwest Airlines on the flight number 305 from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. He was described as a man in his mid-40s and wearing a black business suit with a overcoat, brown shoes, and white shirt. Along with him, he carried a dark briefcase and a paper bag. He calmly took his seat in 18C and ordered a bourbon with a soda before the takeoff. After the takeoff, around 3 p.m., Cooper calmly asked for the flight attendant and handed a note, but the flight attendant just put it in her pocket without even looking at it. Cooper said, "Miss, you better look at the note. I have a bomb." After that, Cooper asked this flight attendant to write down what he was saying and take it to the captain. Quote, "I want 200,000 by 5 p.m. in cash. Put it in a knapsack. I want 2 back parachutes and 2 front parachutes. When we land, I want a fuel truck ready to refuel. No funny stuff, or I will do the job." One odd thing about this demand is Cooper asked for a 200,000 in $20 bills. Not sure what is the reason for that. The flight landed in Seattle, and Cooper exchanged for 36 passengers on the plane for the money and the parachute that he has requested. Cooper even released some of the crew members and kept very few on the plane. He asked the pilot to take off the plane for Mexico City. He requested the pilot to maintain below 10,000 feet. During this flight, he put on a dark wraparound sunglasses with dark rims. If you look around the internet and search for D.B. Cooper, you can find this even today. After 8 p.m., when the plane was between Seattle and Nevada, Cooper jumped out of the rear door of Boeing 727 with 2 parachutes and the money. He was never to be seen again. The plane was diverted and searched for evidence, but there was none. FBI was able to find the partial DNA from his clip-on tie that he removed before jumping. FBI was so desperate that they released the serial number of the $20 bill to the public, but there was no luck. In 1980, which is 9 years after this incident, a young boy found the rotted package filled with $20 bill which matched the serial numbers. But it was not all 200,000. Only $5,800 were found in that bag. This was on the beach near Tina Bar. FBI had considered more than 800 suspects in the first 5 years. And finally, they were able to eliminate all the suspects, and 24 remained. Backstory on Cooper was, he never presented himself as D.B. Cooper. It was Dan Cooper, but somewhere during the press or wire service, they made a mistake and printed as D.B. Cooper. However, that has been stuck as his identity. Physical description of Cooper was very accurate and matched with 2 flight attendants who spent hours with him on the plane. They were interviewed separately and they gave identical description of Cooper. Also, this matched with the description they gave by the people who interacted with him on the ground. FBI initially thought they could easily nab him, and the charge was air piracy initially, which has a 5-year statute of limitation. As time went on, with no suspects, FBI was clueless, and the grand jury indicted Cooper for violating the Hobbs Act. Means it doesn't have any limitation. If Cooper was found tomorrow, they can even arrest him. With that said, let's get into the theory and suspects. First suspect is Richard Floyd. Exactly 5 months after the Cooper incident, FBI arrested Richard McCoy for hijacking a plane. When examined the heist, it matched almost similar to Cooper's plan. Like Cooper, Richard asked for a parachute and jumped off the plane. Similarly, he used a back door of Boeing 727. He requested for 4 parachutes and passed note like Cooper. And the compelling evidence is that both Cooper and Richard's note says that no funny stuff. But later, FBI ruled out Richard as a suspect for the Cooper case, and he was sentenced to 45 years for his crime. Later, he escaped from prison and died in a gunfight with the FBI agents in Virginia Beach. Second suspect is Dwayne Webber, who claimed to be D.B. Cooper on his deathbed. His wife, Jo, claims that in the last hour, he pulled her close and said, "I have a secret to tell you. I am Dan Cooper." According to the wife, he had nightmares where he would talk in his sleep about leaving a fingerprint on the plane. Also, he took her to Tina Bar where the money was found. Former lead FBI agent said this on Duane. He does fit the physical description. He also have a criminal background, and also the wife's story may have credibility. But ultimately, FBI did not believe it was him. The third and the final suspect is Kenneth. This was a story from his brother, Lyle. He saw one of the unsolved mystery episodes and strongly believed that his brother was D.B. Cooper. He said that Kenneth always says there is something you should know, but I cannot tell you. Lyle's story is kind of convincing because shortly after the crime, Kenneth bought the house and he was working for Northwest Airlines, which makes this as inside job. Also, the chilling fact here is when the photo of Kenneth was shown to one of the flight attendants, she said this is the closest match of all the suspect. But FBI believes he is not a suspect, as Kenneth is a paratrooper in World War II and D.B. Cooper is not a skilled jumper. FBI says, we initially thought D.B. Cooper was a skilled jumper and later found that not to be true. No experienced person would have jumped in the pitch black night, that too in the rain with a 200-mile wind in his face, just wearing a trench coat and a loafers. Some says he had died that night, but there are no bodies or parachute was found anywhere. FBI called their search for D.B. Cooper as one of the longest and most exhaustive investigation ever. As of 2011, FBI case file covered more than 2,000 suspects with no answer. This was one of the cases that were open for 45 years before the FBI finally closed it on 2016, even though FBI is still willing to listen for any possible leads. This case of D.B. Cooper will remain unsolved for now and forever. Thank you for hanging out with me today. See you soon with another mystery.